back over here in the words of Rabbi Tatz and Bechira, he says like this. Now remember, we mentioned the last time a very silly case where you have a ganav, you have a thief, and he's struggling with how evil of a thief he's going to be. Does he knock old ladies over on the ground and break their limbs and take their purse? Or does he just kind of push them out of the way and take their purse instead? So his world of Bechira, free will, although that it seems silly to us, his world of free will is such that he's saying that I'm choosing, I'm going to steal. That's not a choice for me. I am going to steal. I already made that decision a long time ago to be a thief. But how I'm going to steal, in there lies my Bechira. Now, it's a low level of Bechira, a very low level of free will, as we pointed out. So, in the Kudas HaBechira Gavoy Yoiser, Aloiser Sulam Asili Izrachish Etzel Oived Misradim HaMispata L'Ishtamish L'Esem B'Tziud Misradim L'Tzarchei HaIshim. He says, but you know what? Let's talk about another kind of a thief. And in the world of Bechira, in the world of free will, this is like an elevated level of thievery. He says, you work in an office. Okay. You work in an office, and there are many opportunities within that office to take things with you or do things that might be against company policies. For example, when you use the pen that the boss pays for to to balance your checkbook, are you stealing the ink that's in that pen? When you take paper or paper clips or Post-its from the office and you bring them home and you end up using them in your house, are you stealing from your boss? So he writes over here like this: V'shemu yishtamish b'telephone al cheshbon ha'ma'avid. Let's say that you end up using the telephone in the middle of your office hours when you're supposed to be working. Everybody says, nah, what's the big deal? Like, I'm talking to my wife in the middle of the business, in the middle of the day. I'm making my order for Shabbos. I'm busy. My friend calls me and we schmooze away for about 10 minutes in the middle of the office, in the middle of the day. That's not stealing from my boss. However, he says this actually is no less a thievery than the guy that knocks the old lady over and takes her purse. You're a ganav, you're stealing. Meaning, if I take things off the desk and I bring them home for myself, and they belong to my boss, they belong to the business, so then I'm a thief. If I'm supposed to be working 9 to 5, and working means literally working, and I'm on the phone, and I'm busy doing other things, or I'm surfing the web, I had to order something for my wife on Amazon today, I didn't get a chance before work, and so there I am busy on the computer ordering that new can opener that she wants that opens cans in a jiffy. So I spent 5 minutes only, but thus 5 minutes I stole from my boss. Or let's say his lunch break is a half an hour, and he comes back every day after 38 minutes. So he wasted 8 minutes extra. That's coming back too late. Or let's say he doesn't work as hard as he could. The guy's in construction. He's being paid by the hour to work very hard, and the guy's a lazy bum. And he doesn't move fast enough, he doesn't work fast enough, he doesn't lift things heavy enough. He's always relying on other people to do things. So I hired you to do the job. I got to pay you at the end of the day, but you're not really doing the job. Asham Begazel says, Rav Tatz, this is all the sin of Gazel, of thievery over here. A person is a robber for stealing from his business in such a way. Now, Gezel Kezehu Maisa Beiler Umizazeya. Obviously, this stealing over here is nowhere on par of the rough and tough way that the other guy was stealing from the old lady. But it's still considered stealing. Just like a person who's a ganav, who steals money from the old lady, he's going to be brought to judgment in the court of law when he gets caught for being a Ganav. And if he doesn't get caught, he's going to go up before HaKadosh Baruch Hu after 100 years, 120 years. And he's going to have to defend himself why he was such a thief. So too, the guy who steals the paper clips, or he uses the company pen for his own, he wants to write his wife, it's her birthday, he writes her birthday card with the pen from the office, he's stealing the ink over there. Or the guy that ended up coming back 6 minutes late from his lunch break. Or the one who's on the phone in the middle of the day talking to somebody else when he's supposed to be working. Or he doesn't work hard enough. So even though he doesn't get caught, the boss never catches him. Nevertheless, in the world of Ruchnius, in the world of spirituality, he is going to be judged and have to answer for himself. I remember I used to give a lunch and learn in an office that was, they were like a tech office. And I used to go there, and in order to get to the room where I used to give the class, I used to pass all the workers there, and they were all in their cubicles, computer cubicles, and they were working. Supposedly they were working. So I used to look to see how hard they were working. Majority of these people, in the middle of the day, they were on their own personal Amazon.com, surfing the web, doing their own stuff, and that's all what we're talking about over here. You're not entitled to do that when you're a worker. I remember I worked once in an office, and I asked in advance that if the phone rings, and let's say it's someone who needs to speak to me, but it has nothing to do with the work, am I allowed to take the call? So the boss looked at me like I fell off the moon, because she knows that's what everybody does, and she said, "What are you asking me?" I said, "I want to know." I said, I'm working for you. I want to know if I'm allowed to answer the phone if it rings for business that's outside of the work. She says, "Well, everybody does that." I said, "I know that everybody does. It doesn't mean that it's right. I want to know if I'm allowed to do that." So she told me that I was. So since she told me that I was, so I'm allowed to. But if you don't have clearance from the boss, if you don't know that you're allowed to do such a thing, then it's gezela, geneva, it's stealing. Now, says Rav Tatz, Ulam, fine. Bechira chavshis tamid misbatzeh says b'nekuda bechira amat ima lemisha b'mitzvah isay. Real free will is always going to be exercised at the point of free will that is fitting for the person who's exercising his bechira, his free will. Yichudis l'kol adam b'kol matzav nasan, and it's unique and individual for each person based on the situation that they find themselves in. That means a real bechira, a real free will, is always going to be in a place that is tailor-made for me personally. Ein bekach de latzbia al musaris yachasis lehapach. Now, we're not talking about the general rules over here of morality, not morality, there is bechira, not bechira. We're not talking about the general things. Every person has their particular way in which they are meyaches, they connect themselves to the world of Torah, the way they connect themselves to the world of honesty, connect themselves to the world of working on themselves, and the like. There's the overall general field of morality and the like, and based upon the way that a person is going to frame their life, so to speak, that every person has the way in which they're going to approach life. So again, he says, the framework of life is absolute. There are general principles that are true to every single human being in the world. Everybody knows you don't kill. Everybody knows that you're supposed to be a kind person. Everybody knows X, Y, and Z. And when in the world of Torah and of mitzvahs, there are maybe more absolutes that a person is going to have. However, nekuda habechira ishis, besechi yechasis, but my bechir, because based on who I am as an individual and the challenges that I am going through personally from the inside and from the outside, that's all relative to me. So there's the general world of the way that things are set up, which is going to be the defining aspects of how a person is going to have free will in this world. But then I'm an individual, and therefore everything is relative to me. And so he says over here, a beautiful idea. He says, he's goyishashus he ma'abak amiti kashashnei hakoichos hamizmoidedim boy hem pachas yoysim ba'oznayim. When is a person going to recognize real free will? That's only when the two opposing forces that you have inside of you trying to make the right decision are more or less, they're equivalent, they're equal on the scale. But we'll see that if they're not, if one far outweighs the other, there's no real free will. As is with nikach chaduma mesachek tennis. Let us take, for example, an example over here of someone who's playing tennis. Mesachek is a mechuna mesachek. It's called a game. When is it really a match, a tennis match? When two people are somewhat equal in their prowess, in their abilities, then it's really a match. However, when you have an experienced player playing against a beginner, you can't call it a tennis match. One guy's been playing for 10 years, and he's pretty good. The other guy never picked up a tennis racket and a ball before. He's a total novice, and they start playing. Is there a tennis match that's taking place? There's no match that's taking place. Obviously, the guy who's been playing for 10 years is going to win. So too, so too, if the guy that's been playing 10 years suddenly gets into the court with the Wimbledon ex-winner of the year, gam kan hakishlon ena mesachik tennis be'etzamim lo yisichu. So the same thing. You don't call it a match if Bjorn Borg comes along. I think that was his name. Comes along and he ends up playing against some guy that was playing it at the park for 10 years straight. So there's no tennis match over there. One guy is the king of the courts. One guy's an average player. So what, he's going to challenge him? There's no real challenge over there. So says the Gemara, says Rav Tatz, Kasha koichais hamunugadim einam uznayim lo mizrachish ismanu lamitis. So therefore, in the world of Bechira, if the two forces that are going against each other are not really on an equal playing field, so then there's no game that's being played. One is going to be the obvious winner. So in your world of Bechira, if there are two forces, but one is so much stronger than the other, there's no choices that are being made. There's no game of Bechira that's being played over here, because one is going to obviously win, and one is obviously going to lose. Kasher ein le'echad hamu'amadim sikri mishum shu nachais b'tzor kitzonis ma'amisai lo misrachish kama abak. So if one side is very weak and one is very strong, there's no struggle. There is absolutely no struggle. If two wrestlers get in the ring, one guy is 6'5" and he weighs 300 pounds, and he's got so many muscles from all of the steroids that he took, and he lifts weights all day long, and he gets in the ring against a puny guy who's about 5'4", and he's out of shape and he has no muscles, the match is over before it begins. You can't call it a wrestling match. So too in the world of Bechira, when you have two opposing forces, and one is obviously stronger than the other one, even if the negative force, so there's no battle that's taking place over here. For sure you're going to, that one negative force will win over the more positive, or vice versa. If your positive is so much stronger than the negative, then that's also going to win out. Can move on. Nitzachain shemai, nitzachain leleikesha lemidas is ames ben hakoiches. When do we call something a victory? We call something a victory. When it's a victory is when the two sides are battling with each other. However, if you would have two sides, again, the massive wrestler fighting against the puny little guy over here, so even though at the end of the day he raises his hands in victory, he won, it's a very hollow and a very empty victory, because you didn't do anything that's so incredible in the eyes of anyone that's watching you, because of course you're going to win. So if I want to win in the world of Bechira, I want to battle the fight, and I want to overcome the struggles that I have internally or externally, and I want to be considered a victor in that which I'm fighting over here, then it's got to be in a case where I'm actually struggling to make the right decision. But if there is no struggle, if I'm so much stronger than the negative, or the negative is so much stronger than me, so then whichever side wins, it's just a very empty win in and of itself. And therefore we're going to have to discuss over here, as we're really going to get into, is that where is the playing field, where is the playing ground, the battleground of the Bechira, of the free will in everyone's life. And that will continue, Be'ez Hashem, next week. So have a good Shabbos, everyone. And next week, as far as I know, we should be in person. I'll just double check. I'll check in with you on Monday just to confirm. All the best.
Thank you, Rabbi.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Be well.